Thank you. Here we are today at Mr. Lacy's farm, and we're really excited to be here with him today. Mr. Lacy is our wildlife discovery farmer. And Mr. Lacy, I'd just like to have a conversation with you a little bit about your farm so that we can let our viewers know a little bit about the history of your farm and what you're doing on your farm.
Okay, my grandparents moved here in about 1933 and bought part of this farm and then added to it in the 60s, and so it's a family farm, and it's my father and my grandfather farmed, and I farmed until the end of 1998. Village Creek runs down one side of most of it, and White River runs down the other side, and I'm hoping we can make this a natural place for the ducks to come. We've got lots of deer.
That's great. What kind of crops do you raise on your farm here?
Well, we raise rice and soybeans, corn, and milo. And every now and then we'll plant a little bit of wheat, but this is mostly overflow ground, so wheat is not always the best option.
I see. So are you farming it now, or have you leased it out?
I retired at the end of 1998, and I leased it out to my tenants, and they have done a great job of farming it, and I couldn't be more pleased with them. Their name is Crabtree, and I'm very pleased with the job they've done.
What kind of things have you done to enhance your property as a wildlife enterprise?
The Game and Fish and the Ducks Unlimited people who you have hooked me up with have come down and given me advice of what I need to do, and such as that, and I've been trying to follow their lead.
Do you still have quail here?
Well, they're very limited.
Yeah.
Very, very limited.
Well, we did bring in Quail Forever to help you out too.
That's right.
Even though your leasing operation, what animals are you focused on for your leases? What kind of leases do you have?
Well, we've got duck leasing. Duck leasing is the main one. And then we also do deer leases also.
What improvements have you made for the waterfowl hunters?
I went over to Bio-to-View duck blinds, and I bought some duck blinds, and they did a fantastic job. Now, you just get a naked blind, is what you get. There's one sitting behind us. We camouflaged it, and one thing we did to save a little money is we went to Marshall's in Batesville and bought camo material, and that really helped us do this because it takes a long time. And a young man named Billy Moreland has done most of the work on camouflaging these blinds and put them out where they needed to be.
Tell us a little more about what you've done with cover crops.
But we've planted about 100 acres of millet that the ducks seem to care for, and it produces a lot of food for them. And we managed to feed the deer all summer because they host and feed on our soybean crop. It's not an issue.
And can you tell our audience why? Because I know some farmers out there aren't very happy when they get in their soybeans.
Well, if that deer eats the top out of that soybean, it'll cause it to fruit heavier. In Louisiana, there's enough deer that they'll destroy your crop.
Yeah.
But we don't have that many deer here.
Well, the first time that I remember that we met was at one of our Extension Wildlife Enterprise workshops. We talked about marketing.
Well, I have done a very poor job of marketing. If you price yourself out of the market, that can be a bad thing to do.
Right.
And I may have done that, but this year I've added the blinds and I've put them out. I've added a floating blind. I'm continuing to plant millet in spots that need it. And the Game and Fish man, I think his name was Buck Jackson, he told me, he said, if you got some ground, he said, if you'll just go out and disc it up and stir the ground, he said, there'll be a tremendous amount of vegetation that comes up that's good for the wildlife.
So you don't even need to plant. You just let the native vegetation grow up and it'll be attracted to them.
And over there where we just looked at that field of millet, we just disc it up, and it's almost as good as what I spent the money on to plant.
Very interesting. For the marketing part of it, that you were really kind of doing it on your own at first, and then you brought some people in that could take some video, show people what kind of things you had to offer. And I believe that at one point you were thinking about having a website, And I think you've also even used a third party to help you get some
I have.
activity.
I've used
So-
a young man from Searcy, Arkansas, named Will Harden. I think he's with Habitat Land Company,
Yeah.
and he has helped me considerably. He's come down here and looked, made suggestions, and he has contact with a lot of people.
And he can help you kind of value out that land.
That's right.
And the blinds that you're providing. And I believe you also may have a little bit of a barn lodge that people, it's rustic,
Well,
but you offer those kinds of opportunities for them. Do you use any other means to get some support? Like, are there other like federal programs that you've used?
well, something that falls right in with the hunting is the CSP through the NRCS, and any conservation project that you can sign up for, and you get paid some money to do these projects, which helps considerably, and it helps the hunting, it helps the wildlife, and it's just a good overall program that benefits everything.
So you were telling me earlier about some of these programs that the Farm Bill has that really benefited you.
Yes, ma'am.
And you mentioned shorebirds.
Yes,
and,
ma'am.
And that's something that's maybe a little bit out of your wheelhouse, but you say they're providing you support for that.
Well, they are, but what it boils down to is we're holding water on this crop ground for the birds. They call them shorebirds mostly, but we're getting a lot of ducks is what we're getting.
The same practices for them.
same
They're just a
practice,
little bit
and-
earlier in the season.
That's right.
And the other thing we've talked about, and I've mentioned to you, I don't know how many times, is I love all the butterflies I see out here. And there's some programs to help with pollinator habitat, and that might be the next things that we'll be talking about in the near future.
Well-
Butterfly habitat, but butterfly habitat is good for quail, it's good for deer, so it's the whole farm approach and using multiple ways to attract wildlife. If someone was just starting out and they really wanted some advice from a wildlife enterprise perspective, a farmer that's moving from an operation to a wildlife enterprise, is there some advice that you could provide to them?
There certainly is. I'd tell them to call Dr. Becky McPeak.
Oh my goodness.
That is the first thing I would do. She can help you a lot. She can tell you who you need to talk to, and she will even contact them to where they'll come look at your farm. So she has been an invaluable source for me.
Well, I certainly appreciate that, Mr. Lacy. You've been an invaluable resource for the university, and we so appreciate you letting us come out and visit your farm all these years, and we look forward to continuing that relationship with you.
Well, I need to thank our county agent, Matt, for letting me know this was available.
Yes.
And I appreciate him very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Lacy. And with that, we'll move on to another part of our farm tour.